Iraqi rebels set up training camps in Syria. A showdown in Moscow as public demonstrations are banned. And the U.S. Supreme Court takes its first cigarette case ever. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. New threats to Saddam Hussein from rebels attempting to oust him from power in Iraq. More fierce fighting is reported as Saddam's forces try to hang on to what's left of their country. David Martin at the Pentagon is following the violent aftermath of the Gulf War.
Call it civil war or simple unrest, scenes of the aftermath of battles between rebels and forces loyal to Saddam Hussein leave little doubt about the intensity of the fighting inside Iraq. With training camps now set up across the border in Syria, Kurdish rebels in northern Iraq appear for the moment to be the greatest threat to Saddam. Late today, the U.S. said it now believes dissidents control Kirkuk, Iraq's fourth largest city. Saddam isn't in much better shape in the south.
Overall, levels of fighting in the south continue to be relatively lower, but heavy fighting occurred over the weekend in several locations in the general area of the lower Euphrates, where the government at least temporarily lost control of several towns.
Saddam has not attempted to use his air force against the rebels since last Friday when an American fighter shot down an Iraqi jet. The U.S. Air Force is flying more than 400 missions a day, keeping watch over Iraqi airspace and enforcing the terms of the temporary ceasefire. A formal ceasefire resolution is still being worked out in the UN Security Council.
There is no ceasefire resolution as of today. In fact, they're meeting again today to work on this resolution.
The U.S. and its allies have not yet figured out how to make sure Iraq lives up to the terms of the ceasefire. Do they keep the military pressure on until Iraq satisfies all the conditions? Or do they pull their troops out of southern Iraq and rely on economic sanctions to force Iraq into compliance?
Nearly a quarter of the U.S. forces and half the combat aircraft that fought the war are now either home or on their way. The U.S. also continues to pull its ground forces out of southern Iraq, although as some elements head south, more heavily armed tank units have moved in to occupy their positions. If the Pentagon gets its way, all American ground troops will be out of Iraq within a matter of weeks. But there will still be a permanent U.S. military presence left on shore somewhere in the Persian Gulf region in the form of a Central Command headquarters. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
The United States announced today it is giving Turkey 40 surplus fighter jets. They are Vietnam-era F-4Fs. I should say that they're F-4Es. There's several kinds of F-4s. These are F-4Es. They're part of Turkey's reward for joining in both the war and the economic sanctions against Iraq. The people of occupied southern Iraq are finally getting some help from the United States. A week ago, no one was caring for the wounded, sick, and hungry there. Now, the U.S. military has been told to do the job. Bert Quint reports.
American troops set up new positions in war-ravaged Safwan today. Their mission this time is one of mercy. Apparently embarrassed that people in the U.S.-occupied zone were close to starvation, the conquering army has taken on the challenge and the responsibility of keeping these Iraqis alive.
To give them the food and water and help the community, that's just American thing to do.
There were obstacles. The pride of people unaccustomed to handouts, distrust of those who shelled their homes, killed their loved ones.
All right, let's go.
This man says, we are surprised that the U.S. helps because you do not expect occupiers to help. And cultural differences. These people aren't used to standing on line, certainly not men and women jammed together. A little barbed wire and some selective herding did more than GI tact to straighten that out. Flour and rice are replacing the occasional packs of army rations soldiers tossed as they passed by. It's been a long time since U.S. troops have done real occupation duty. That was after World War II. And this part of it, they like.